Hello, folks, and welcome to the very first episode and even a live stream here at the Spin Room with Dr. Elliott Morgan. I'm your host, Dr. Elliott Morgan, always have been, always will be. I'm a comedian and a scholar of what's called depth psychology, which studies the unconscious aspects of the mind that dictate our everyday behavior. And so I thought, what better way to kick this whole channel off than with one of my favorite stories of the year, folks. Of course, it's the reflecting pool. Now, I don't know if you remember all the drama with the reflecting pool, but I certainly do. And as it turns out, it's turned into, what do you know, a full-blown scandal. And so it started out during the America 250 celebration, which I still have my decorations up for. I just keep forgetting to take them down, and apparently Trump may or may not have hired someone to clean it. And who knows, he's a businessman, so I guess he was pinching pennies, and evidently they didn't do a good job. But that did not stop this administration from blaming, of course, who? Left-wing radicals. However, there have been some developments there where apparently the Department of Justice has dropped those charges due to a lack of what's called, evidence. So that's like a hiccup, I guess, a little bit. And this is causing some drama, some internal drama with the Trump administration, where you have the Department of Justice going against Trump, and you have Trump absolutely insisting that, no, these were vandals, I promise. And so we're going to dive in first to Jim Jordan, what he has to say about this. And bear in mind, this comes alongside Todd Blanche trying to get his new gig, in addition to being besties with the president. And in order to do that, there is talk of him getting rid of the anti-weaponization fund, which this administration wants to put $1.8 billion into in order to provide legal support for those January 6th patriots. So anyway, feel free to like this video and subscribe to the channel. We're going to be doing this most days of the week, so long as I can figure out how this newfangled technology works. So bear with me, but let's dive into it here. And I think we're going to start with Jim Jordan. Originally, I was going to start with Senator John Kennedy, but I'm good. This will be better, I think, because who doesn't want to hear from this guy? Also, bear in mind, Jim Jordan, that is GYM, in case you are not familiar. If you know, you know. So let's see. This is him talking to Dana Bash, and she's going to do a little switcheroo, I think, when it comes to the anti-weaponization fund. And the key word here, the key term is moral consistency. So let's see what
Jim, you are right that this fund exists, and this is a question of putting more money into it. But on that note, just kind of looking ahead to who could or should be eligible for the fund, I want to play something that Interior Secretary Doug Burgum told me about the reflecting pool. Let's watch.
Now, again, moral consistency is what we're going for here, because the idea of the anti-weaponization fund is that it is money specifically designed to protect people from when the government is weaponizing them. And so it's a very dramatic thing. But if that's going to be the case, it should be bipartisan, right? Let's find out.
Didn't peel off. There was vandalism. There was box cutters. There have been 7 arrests. There was people literally trying to destroy part of a monument.
And you're 100% sure that what happened with the liner was vandalism. You can prove it.
Oh yeah, absolutely can. And as we drain it, we've got all the photographs.
That was July 5th. They can prove it. They have all of the evidence they need. Only they don't apparently.
As you well know, the U.S. Attorney here in D.C., Jeanine Pirro, says that vandalism did not damage the pool, but it was a hasty and botched contract renovation that did. They dropped their case, a criminal case that they had against a former Olympian, David Hearn.
I'm shocked.
Given what he's gone through, should he be eligible for money from the anti-weaponization fund?
Well, that'd be up to the board. I mean, if this thing is formed, remember, that's up to, I don't make the decision. It's up to them. What I do know is Peter Strzok shouldn't have got $1.2 million.
So you have an opinion on that?
President Trump's election campaign.
You have an opinion that he shouldn't have got it. What about David Hearn?
Well, that'll be up to the board. And I don't know all the facts. This story just broke. I don't know all the facts. Why they did, why the Justice Department dropped the case, why the Department of Interior said that there was something there. I'd have to go look at all that. We'd have to look. What I do know is President Trump is focused on making America great and focused on making Washington beautiful again. And he's been focused on that. We'll have to get to the facts of this case. I just don't know.
They were one of the facts now, and this is based on what the president's own U.S. attorney, Jeanine Pirro, who I know you know well, she used to be on Fox, said in a court document, the ramifications of it was that they were.
Let's just stop here. So if you're familiar with Will Hoyt's law, if you're not familiar with it, rather, it says that basically conservative politics consists of one thing and one thing only, which is that there must be an in-group that the law protects but does not bind, and an out-group that the law binds but does not protect. This is a really great example of that in action, I think, because the moment GYM is asked a question that he's uncomfortable with, and he doesn't have the talking point right off the top of his head, he has to fall back on the previous talking point, the one that is in support of the administration. So when you start talking about a guy who is unfairly accused of vandalizing a pool, who became the subject of all of this right-wing scrutiny, well, he doesn't get access to this anti-weaponization fund, or if he does, he just can't be sure. There's too much research. He's just got to figure it out, you know? Like, the amount of like tapping the brakes that these guys do whenever it is someone who is on the other side of the aisle, whenever it's someone that may not be sharing their same political interests, is remarkable. But you know what they absolutely know is that guy really should. That's where the anti-weaponization money should go. The hypocrisy is really, I mean, it's entertaining. You know, you have to push past the sadness. I think you have to get past the sort of depression that you feel when you realize that our leaders are just constantly lying nonstop. But once you do, there's a lot of happiness on the other side. Just sort of an acceptance of the nation going down the toilet. Also, this is a really great setup I have here. And I think for the next video, we might try to make it so you can actually see the video in its entirety rather than just part of it with some text. But I don't know. We'll find out. Yeah, that's even better. See, look at that. All right, let's get to a different take now on the reflecting pool. This next clip comes from Senator John Kennedy. He's just a good old boy. And again, what I'm interested in here is the tactics that are used to deflect from the reflecting pool, okay? I am interested in the Will Hoyt's law aspect. Well, rules for thee, but not for me. I'm interested in the constant relying on talking points that are in support of this administration, as opposed to like any kind of honest answer. And I'm really interested in another tactic that is particularly used by like Southern, politicians. Tim Burchett comes to mind. And the idea here is that when they're pressed for something, that they don't have an answer to, they have to fall back on like anecdotes to make sure that you're like as ingratiated, that you're as charmed by them as possible. I just don't know if it works as well as it used to. So let's see how, and also he looks just a little tired. But who among us? And I mean, he's just one of our many young, sprightly politicians.
Okay, let me ask you about another big topic this week, Senator. The Justice Department just this week dropped its charges against the Olympic canoeist that it accused of vandalizing the reflecting pool on the National Mall. The DOJ admitted that the damage was caused by, quote, botched installation and not vandalism. Oh. This was a case that the DOJ had said was open and shut. They said they could prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. Does this reversal undercut the public's faith in the Justice Department?
Yeah, it does. It does. Everything. I mean, this is, what it reminds me of is like the Imperial boomerang idea. You know, you go across the ocean, you drop some bombs, and then eventually it comes back to haunt you. And that technology gets later weaponized against the American people. Okay, there's a similar dynamic happening here, where it's like if you undermine faith in every single one of our institutions, eventually faith is going to get undermined in the institution that is doing the undermining. So yeah, there's no trust left for any of our institutions. And I don't know that we're going to be able to get back to that, nor do I think we necessarily should, but that is a problem for the future. And right now we have bigger things to worry about, like what's going on with this reflecting.
Senator?
Well, the whole thing is a multiple vehicle pileup. Let me start with the president. The president says it was caused by vandals. I don't know whether he really believes that, or it's part of his political messaging, or he's just thinking out loud. You and I both know the president well.
I love when they just are like, well, who's to say? You know, he's such a complex figure, this Donald Trump. Who could possibly know whether or not he like meant what he said, or if it's just some sort of thought that he had, or if he's just outright lying? It's like, I think he's just a moron. And honestly, I don't know that this is one of those situations where I would ascribe lying or deceit to Donald Trump. Like, I think he really is incapable of processing any idea, of literally imagining that he might have had something to do with this and that it might not be vandals. There's an automatic snowflakey, like, self-victimization thing that goes on. And it's really kind of sad, because it's sort of like when you have an aging elderly relative and it's just like, absolutely, absolutely, Grandpa, let's get you back to bed. No, they're vandals. And also, he went on Truth Social, I believe it was yesterday or 2 days ago, and again said that no, it was vandals, and then cited that they were writing like 87 and 40, whatever, the 45 and 47 in like the grass or whatever. It's like, this is one of the most highly surveilled areas in Washington, D.C. You can't get any proof that there was any kind of vandalism. No, what's happening is beyond that, okay? It's poetic. It is the Lord himself coming down and going, you know what? I'm going to turn the reflecting pool green, because that's actually going to be a true representation of what this administration is all about.
Exists loudly, and he grows anxious when he has an unexpressed thought.
Like a child.
I'm not saying he doesn't really believe it. I just don't know. Now, the stakes are a lot higher for U.S. Attorney Pirro. You can't lie to a federal judge. If she can't prove her case, she was right to pull back.
There you go.
Because if you fool around with a federal judge, you will find out.
Oh, okay.
When I was in private practice one time, I put my briefcase on a brand new conference table bought by a federal judge. And he got so mad, I'll never forget, I thought I was going to get to spend overnight with Bubba in central lockup. The federal judges will not tolerate.
What did he just say? That is the kind of Southern charm that we've come to expect from old John Kennedy. But if you unpack that a little bit, which I'm not going to do right now because this is live, but if you think about it a little bit, that's a little bit dark, but that's the kind of funniest thing that just makes you love the guy and makes you just completely forgive all of the lying. Let's see what else he has.
Right. And so if I don't know why she filed a suit without doing a full investigation.
Yeah.
She says she relied on the Department of Interior, but she was smart to pull it back.
Very quickly, Senator, given that, because I have one more question on the shutdown, should the grand jury records be released so the public can see the evidence for themselves, Senator?
Fine with me.
Man, I was so hoping he was just gonna tell another story that vaguely alluded to SA. Anyway, folks, we're being run right now by morons, and there is something poetic about what's going on with the reflecting pool. In fact, I was feeling a sense of remorse just about not hearing any stories about it. The fact that it also was like so obviously a lie the entire time, and now it's just becoming plain and obvious to everyone, and now it's official, and they're still digging their heels in. Oh, chef's kiss. This is the kind of stuff that we're going to be covering all month here, at least over at the Spin Room with Dr. Elliott Morgan. So please feel free again to like and subscribe and leave a comment and say hello. And also, you can just tell me in the comments, go, hey, Elliott, when you're using the program here, just, I'll take any and all advice. But anyway, I'll see you next time, folks. I love you. I love every single one of you. Goodbye. Maybe not Jim Jordan.